Um, Before I start, I just want to recall the name of our day of mindfulness. So powerful. From the world of confusion to the place of freedom and inclusiveness. So just let that sink in. And we're going to do probably, we still have like 2 or 3 minutes that we're going to do silent sitting just to come back to our ground, come back to our part of Mother Earth that we're placed in. And I'm going to start with 3 sounds of the bell and end with one for our little mini sitting. So welcome everybody once again. I will invite you to think of the ancestors that are present right now with you. For me, what's alive is the land ancestors or Abenaki people. I can think of my spiritual ancestors, like the Virgen de Guadalupe that is here with me. I can think of the Buddha. And one of my blood ancestors is here present on the call, so that's my dad. So while I share with you a song, The Calls of the Ancestors, you can think of all the ancestors that are present here with you, and we can ask permission and support from them. The song is really easy, so you can sing it. I will share with you the lyrics. And we cannot unmute everyone because there's cacophony, but we can definitely sing in the place of the earth we are, and that's energy. So these are the lyrics. And it was a song by the Lotus Institute. And the lyrics is calling our ancestors, spirit and land and blood, in all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Gratitude for calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, in all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Thank you. I'm going to connect this and just see if you can hear me well. Thumbs up, I didn't see. Anyway, thank you. So yes, my name is Aurora, and right now I live here in MorningSun. It's June, half of the year 2020. For me, it feels like an eternity. It feels like enough suffering. From the perspective of a healthcare worker, of a minority, of a Latin woman, I mean, where's the restart button? I need the restart button. We're living incredibly challenging times. And we again have the opportunity to come here and look deeply in order to understand. I feel so lucky, and we're so lucky that we're here today so we can help us cultivate and strengthen our resilience, our compassion, our equanimity, our clarity, so that we can aspire to take skillful action. The pandemic showed us what was already wrong: our broken healthcare system, our inequality, our lack of support for healthcare workers, minorities working because they couldn't stop. Funeral homes full, our markets collapsing, our political system like crushing, showing us the illusion of safety, something that we were not having. When I was in Nepal in a medical mission, it came very clear to me that my safety was not on my belongings. The belongings could go just down to the mountain or be stolen. It was not on my credit card. That type of plastic doesn't go there. It was not on my money. It was only in my community. I felt safe because I had community. My life depended on the person in front, on the back, and on my side. And in that moment, I thought, well, maybe that's kind of the same on my Western world. The illusion of safety is just the illusion that I have a bank account, a home, an illusion of having a work or a green card. When mud hits the fan, who is there to support me? I found out this community also. It's you. You're there to support me. In that moment, I realized what I had told me for a decade already: to find Sangha, to build Sangha, to take refuge in the Sangha. Sangha, Sangha, Sangha. The same thing happened with the pandemic. Our lives started to kind of peel off and show us what really mattered. The reality of seeing impermanence in my face moved my world. It asked me to level up my practice. It asked me, what is it that I cannot longer ignore? There is a poem that I wrote when I was in Mexico, when I was taking care of my mom, my grandma, and my aunt with coronavirus last week, I think. So I'll share it to you because I think it's important. It's alive for me. The time has come. The time has come for me to show up, to be in presence, to go deep and stop breathing, to say goodbye and maybe see you later. I don't know. The time has come for me to practice and show to myself that all has been there for a reason. The time has come for me to trust in life, in the cycles, to trust in the eternity of everlasting change. The time has come to meet you where I stand, to discover what I already knew for so long, that I'm loved and that all are loved. The time has come when courage and fear rise together, marching steadily. The time has come to understand and then let go. Jump to the unknown. So every time, oh, my host stopped my video just when I was going to talk about race.
I can still hear you, Aurora.
Okay, so maybe I'll do it like this without the video so you can hear me better. And then the host will decide. Every time I have filled immigration forms, the question about race comes up. What race am I? Am I white? I guess so. My ethnicity? Latin, I think. The world of race was very foreign to me until I came here to the States. And that is not to say that in Mexico there's no racism. There's plenty racism and colonialism. But I was never confronted by it because I had privilege. And when I came to the States, I was placed in a minority group in a box and faced discrimination. I could pass by white until I spoke. The problems I find with names is that they separate us. We don't see that we are inter and that we have a responsibility with and for each other. The insight that brings us to the other shore is very clear on this. It clearly says, know this name, know this label, not being, not being, no self, no non-self. Interbeing is getting out of the self. The middle way is being out of oneself. And what I see the society is going on is that how much is based on an individual concept of self and how fear comes from that self. When I reside on the self, I definitely feel fear. Am I gonna lose it? Are they gonna take this out from me? Are they not gonna let me in? And I can clearly see how fear creates hatred. I found that I hate because I fear, operating in labels and distinctions. Our minds are designed to divide and to separate and label in order to survive and feel safe. The illusion of knowing and control. So when my mind gets stuck in separating, how can I come back? How can I bring it back to compassion for myself? And then extend it to the other that is also me. The antidote is compassion. We definitely don't like not knowing, not being in control. When the sutra says, not this nor that, our mind shouts like, but what is it? I need to know. We want to name it. We want to have something. We want to be something. So how can I just sit there without fixing? How can I just sit there so compassion can arise? The trauma on this body has also whiteness and is not speaking up when there's injustice, of being silenced.
Okay, I can get it on this. Okay. So let's.
And how can I slowly change that? What skillful means looks like. Another layer of my trauma is that I'm 1/3 at least indigenous, and that also carries oppression. Another layer of trauma is that in this time, I have a woman's body, so I also have oppression. So speaking now more than ever, even if my voice breaks or I have an accent, is the path for me. For me, this path is to educate myself on white supremacy, the water we're all living in, about race and social constructs, on how to be an anti-racist, to see what I'm doing that I am not able to see in order to stop that perpetuation of more of the same. To see how can I see my conditioning, to stop and listen. And after all, the pandemic did that for us. Like, it stopped our busyness, and like that we were able to see. When the lake is clear, then we can see the bottom. And sometimes seeing is not that pleasant. It's not that easy. It can be very uncomfortable. Sometimes we see suffering, and our practice asks us to be with suffering. So when that happens, how can I be with suffering without feeling overwhelmed or feeling that my ground has moved? For that, practice first grounding, like feeling my body again, feeling my feet on the ground, noticing the earth and that I'm part of a bigger thing. After that, I recall my intention. What is my intention? My intention is to heal suffering. My intention is to have compassion. My intention is of service. And then I attune to my body again and check where or why or what am I yearning for? What is it that I'm yearning for? After that, I attune to the other person to see what are they yearning for. And in that space, I practice or make causes and conditions to compassion to arise. In that interaction, I can ask then myself, what is it that it will be from benefit? It's not always easy, but it could be also in a second. It could be when I'm walking in the clinic and suddenly something happens, or when I open the door, I just ground myself, recall my intention, and attune. So then I can open myself and my eyes to what's happening. I find that we always find resilience in discomfort. Your layers are beautiful. Your colors are beautiful. Your color is beautiful. Your identity is beautiful. I want to see it. I don't want to ignore it. I want to honor it. You bring so much sauce, so much salsa, so much spice, so much adobo, so much catsup to my life. My life is enriched by you. And as someone said to me yesterday, it's an imitation of let's break together and not apart. Thank you. I hope you were able to hear well, and if not, it went to the universe. Thank you. Now we're gonna pass the seat to my sisters in the cabin. I'm not in the same place, and thank you for bearing with the internet. I'm in quarantine because I went to Mexico.
Dear friends, this is Sara bowing in. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up. Wonderful. I'm going to take my mask off, and Fern still has her mask on. Just want you to know that that's our system for sharing the cabin for internet. Thank you, dear Aurora, for sharing with us how you're practicing right now. And I'd like to invite us to settle into a comfortable position, and I'll invite 3 sounds of the bell. Thank you all so much for coming and being here. I know that it's kind of a big weekend. Wherever you are, maybe it's opening up and it's Father's Day. We all have father energy in us, so it's a time for reflection or peace or joy, whether we're alone or with our family. And Juneteenth happened on Friday, and it's also the summer solstice, the new moon. There's a lot. And I really appreciate getting to be together in community. It's so much easier to practice mindfulness together. Even just with one friend sitting on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes, like, can change everything inside of me. And so for those I haven't met yet, my name is Sara, and I live here in MorningSun 2. My pronouns are she and they. I feel a little gender chaotic these days, so whatever pronoun works is great. And I'm here in my little cabin, and I just want to share about my pins that's on my jacket. This is for Earth Holder. We care a lot about environmental healing and justice. And then this one is for the detainment of undocumented immigrants and brown people in America. It says free them, home instead, because one of the largest detainment centers is in a city called Homestead. And so every time I put on this jacket, I think about them. And I really want them to be free. And I want my actions to embody that value in me. I so wish that I could ask you all how you're doing. So I'd like to invite you to just take a tiny little minute and maybe rub your palms together, even though it's warm. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had a hot bowl of soup or tea when it's really hot. I think it's incredible. It actually creates a little sweat and a little coolness. So generating some heat, and then just brushing the face as we breathe in and out and checking in, how am I doing? Oh, that's so wonderful. One of our friends' background is Totoro. That's a wonderful movie. Yeah, I think that's so helpful in a time like right now when I'm not feeling totally hopeful. I think hopefulness is so important for a practitioner and for a community to have. And I grew up in California, and I was only a couple of years old when the riots after Rodney King's death happened. And I was talking with my mom the other day about that, and how we're really grateful for technology because then things are being filmed. Like, things aren't getting worse, they're just being exposed. Oh, I have a deer fly friend. It'll be my new Sangha partner. And Fern is just looking at it like, oh, can I catch it for you? Have any of you ever had a deer fly? They create a lot of sensation. You have? Yeah, so I look to my Sangha for hopefulness, and I look at all of your faces and I think about hopefulness because you're here, and that requires courage and bravery and a deep practice of wanting other people to be well. And I finally feel like I found my true home being around people who want others to be well, who we don't even know. And I think that's very difficult because we're in a system that benefits off of the expense of others. And to break out of that would require a deep level of generosity that maybe my ancestors don't know. I am multiracial. I have Chinese ancestors, European ancestors, both of whom immigrated here by choice, running away from really oppressive, violent governments and lack of religious freedom, the need for food and wanting to start a better future. And then America, as one of our Dharma teachers says, Larry Ward, America was a business that tried to become a country. And so I just sit here today, like reflecting in my heart that I don't like the way America was built. And my value is for all of the Black lives who are here in America to have the same rights that I have, that my friends in MorningSun have, and that so many people in America have, to be able to be a little uncomfortable around a police officer or resist arrest or commit a crime and be held accountable in a way that is respectful to their body and their sovereignty as a human being. For the food apartheid to end, because it's not natural that so many pockets of America don't have fresh food, to end mass incarceration. I've been thinking a lot about Juneteenth and how we're all celebrating or honoring the ending of enslaved human capitalism in America, and it's not really over. There's so many products that come from the prisons, and the prisons are in it for profit. And so I don't want to like politicize my support. I want to be decolonized in my mind and my body, because then I can show up for community care. And that hopefulness comes from living in MorningSun and having all of you here, because the white people in MorningSun are doing white awareness work, which is a sweet way to say they're doing anti-racist work to create more equity here and look at the inequities where we're not yet a safe Sangha for Black people. If our Sangha is 85 to 95% white, Asian, Latinx, light-skinned, privilege, then we're not safe unless we've done a lot of homework. And that really requires maybe some conversations, which Plum Village is so good at. We're not going to go on a silent retreat, which I do love a silent retreat, but we're going to go to Dharma sharing. It's on the schedule. Even if I want to take a nap, we show up and we speak words out of our mouth, and sometimes it's shocking. It's like, oh, I think that? Oh, like I've been holding on to this resentment or this pain from, I don't know where I got that. But as Fern says, like this big basket of fruit, we have it. And it's in me, this fear of being generous with my ideas, my voice, my money. And Joseph Goldstein has a great way of saying this at one retreat I went to. I think Joseph Golden was there. Cannot, if I'm quoting him correctly, he said, if you're giving something away that feels easy, take some time to examine that. Maybe try giving away something that feels very uncomfortable. That could be $500, or that could be $1,000, or that could just be talking to the racist uncle in a way that's non-dualistic. It could be speaking at a rally and just saying, I value these human lives of my Black neighbors, and I will do anything I can to support and protect them and stand with them, because they're tired. It's been 450 years of asking for us to not oppress them anymore. That's a really long time. And I'm so grateful that we're waking up to the pandemic and the healthcare system having inequities in it. Because I don't think that Black lives really mattered during Hurricane Katrina, or in Flint, and Indigenous lives in Standing Rock. And I think that they do, but how do I really show up for that? So what I've been looking at a lot is my nervous system, reading a book by a wonderful teacher named Resma. It's called My Grandmother's Hands. And just through the book, looking at the white supremacy that lives in me, which I don't get to be in touch with a lot here because I'm a minority here, but I have white ancestry and I have the same, it's like this relationship with racism, kind of like mindfulness. Like for a long time, I was just really good at ignoring it, ignoring the present moment, ignoring my needs, ignoring people around me, and just on autopilot. So recently I have this little list here that says, what are my responses? Fight, flight, freeze, appease, tend, or befriend. I do a lot of appeasing. That's my go-to. Like my amygdala fires, appease. I will try to make everyone feel comfortable and so that they like me. And that's perpetuating a model minority myth for Asian Americans that I'm no longer subscribing to. And I can only step into that space of tending and befriending with my own nervous system and with others if I totally can trust you. And then if I can trust you and I expect you to trust me, then we're able to be really emotionally and spiritually intimate. Because it's just composting this stuff from my ancestors that I want to free. And that means I have to feel it and maybe mention it. And that can be really scary. When we get scared, Black people die. And I can't imagine that happening in my family. I would burn a city down if that happened in my family and a keeper of the peace committed a crime against someone in my family because of their skin color and wasn't held accountable. And I would do that for any of you too. I would never hurt anybody, but the way to express the grief and the rage would have to be exercised for there to be change and for that to never happen to another family ever again. And so I sit with those feelings in me and I feel like, wow, like dragon energy. And I see it in all of you too. And I see it at the protests. It's very moving to see people who believe in nonviolence and they also believe in resisting injustice and pushing for change. A deep encouragement, like meet me here and let's stand together. And this is a safe refuge for people of color, for Black, Indigenous people. So my question is, how can our Sangha be less inequitable? And how can we cause less harm? That answer lies first in our own bodies. And there's a lot of whiteness in thinking, oh, I'm just gonna read a book or listen to a talk or donate and then everything will be better. And even for me, protests aren't gonna make it better in terms of making my Sangha a safer space for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, where they can come and touch the Dharma and the fruits of the Sangha and nature, and healthy food, and their children being safe and loved and appreciated. So maybe getting deep into those layers beneath police brutality, beneath mass incarceration, beneath the education inequities, and looking at those seeds of self-interest and recognizing, there's this great quote by Nina Turner. She says, we all can have nice things. We all can have nice things. And that will require some difference. Celebrating the difference, learning from each other, choosing our friends and teachers wisely as we move forward, and really putting our hearts in the hands of people who we can trust. Without the vulnerability, these walls will create more violence. And for myself as an Asian American, I can feel that right away when I talk to a white person. If they're like, oh, she looks a little exotic, I don't know what I'm gonna say or do here. I think I'm gonna comment on her skin color or on the shape of her eyes, but is that okay? It's like, no, that's totally not okay. And I'm watching you have that debate in your head. I'm just a person named Sara. And yes, I'm Asian American. And we could talk about race later if we want to. Because I love to talk about this whole construct that has been imposed upon all of us against our free will. And before we didn't even have it. And we can feel that anxiousness in us. What was life before we constructed race? And can we cultivate those seeds, like Tai says, like really intentionally? Watering the seeds so that they can manifest, and creating my life so that they can manifest compassion and loving kindness and equanimity and non-duality. So I can have the love and the rage in me. I can have the sort of fear and the courage in me. I can have both feeling a little conservative and progressive, just having both show up when I talk to people and come to practice and come out into society. So I invite you to find a comfortable position and place either one hand on your belly near your navel or on your chest or anywhere that you like. Could be your thigh, but I invite you to connect with the core of your body, like the trunk of your body. And if it feels right to close your eyes, let the weight of the skin and the muscles and the bones and the organs sink. And then press the hand gently into the body with a little pressure, feeling the body move, the hand rise and fall. Just feeling the body. If it feels okay to rub the hand in a tiny circle, like Winnie the Pooh. Without ideas. Just constantly bringing the mind back into the body and how it feels, the warmth, the coolness. Thank you. And then bringing the hand down and checking in. How am I doing? How is my body feeling? How is my breath? And how would it feel to not be able to breathe? From centuries of oppression, forced labor, inability to be free and travel, take time off work, go to the doctor, eat the food that they grow. So, dear friends, just to close my sharing, I invite myself to envision a world where greed and self-interest do not dictate our economy. And for myself to feel bold because I have a whole Sangha standing beneath me, the ones who have passed from Vietnam and from Europe and from Asia, coming here to the States, have the Sangha standing all around me and all around you, to be strong and to continue to cultivate seeds that can manifest and become apparent to others, to show the inner beauty that our practice offers, awakening different elements like the fire, the sun, just feeling all of that mix and swirl inside of you, getting in touch with your ancestral lineage, whether that's song, food, or ritual, a discussion with someone of a similar ancestry. That's a privilege that we have, is knowing where we came from. A lot of people don't have that if they were brought here against their consent. So we can get in touch and we can find people, oh, your ancestors are from Norway, let's talk. No plan, no outcome, just let's talk. Let's do something. Like getting in. and then letting it come out. That will be felt. That's very important work. Larry Ward has a saying, take your seat at the table of healing and belonging, and don't let anyone else take it. Don't wait until the next lifetime to show up and play. Thank you, friends. I'm gonna mute myself, and then Fern and I are gonna do a little shifting. So if you need a minute to get water, this is a good time, and then Fern will be offering something for the next 15 minutes.
You're muted, Fern.
Got it, thank you. So dear friends, we can take a moment to listen to the sound of the bell together. It's so wonderful to see everybody. Yay. Um, Morning, dear friends. I think this is such a powerful moment for many of us, a moment of waking up. Waking up to the racism and the suffering in ourselves and in our society. I was watching a movie this winter with my son, called Cry Freedom. It's a very old movie I saw when I was growing up, and about apartheid in South Africa. And it portrayed so clearly the injustice and the suffering of so many people, the children living in absolute poverty and unsafety and violence. And then it would flash to the white people's homes with their big lawns and their swimming pools, and the children very happy and safe. And when I saw that movie, now it suddenly hit me. This is America. Even though the laws may be different than they were then, this is the reality of many people's lives. We live in the same city, same states, but we're not given the same opportunities and safety. And yeah, I'm learning and growing so much. I'm very grateful that we have this white awareness group in MorningSun, and that there are people who have been really uncovering what's happening here in our country, and looking at how to create a path forward. And they're offering us their insights. So in our white awareness group, we are learning, doing lots of learning from people who have been looking at the structure of our country and asking a lot of questions. It's very helpful to find people to do this work with, whether it's our family or our partner or our Sangha. Making it something we can talk about and to heal and let go and develop our new understanding together. Because it's not easy. So we can take refuge in each other. In our practice here in our white awareness group, we have some material, but then we spend a lot of our time listening to our bodies. And how does that hit in our bodies? How do we feel that? And then through that, for me, it allows my the real grief to come up and to move. And it's like there's some parts of myself that I've been cut off from. And it feels so, I feel this wholeness coming up and this healing and this non-fear by not being afraid to feel in my body and be in touch with what's there. And it's by sitting together and practicing deep listening, just being there without judgment for each other, as one of us goes in and feels what's there for us and lets it come out, circulates it. And we've been using this book that Sara mentioned, My Grandmother's Hands. It offers so much understanding and a real path of healing in ourselves. And part of it is based on an understanding that before Europeans came to this country, they already had so much trauma living in their bodies because they had already developed a society, a culture there that's based on dominance over. A whole system that was working with a lot of violence, a lot of greed, a lot of fear, a lot of disconnect from the basic capacity to love and see each other and ourselves and take care of ourselves, to be whole. And that disconnect, that trauma that already lived in our bodies before we came to this country, it enabled and pushed us to treat the people of this land and the Black people that came to this land that we stole and brought to this land in a very inhumane way that created so much pain. And the more that happened, the more we disconnected from our source of real humanity, of wholeness, of non-fear, of love. So part of our work is going back and healing that trauma that lives in us so that we don't have, so that we can trust our true well-being, our love, our humanity. And we don't keep living in this situation where, because we're afraid of our pain, we don't want to look at it. We're also afraid of everybody else's pain and the pain that our current, situation, the way our country is being run. We don't want to look at it. So we have to start by learning to be okay with pain, which is our practice that Thai offers us, of course. Learning to be okay with what's uncomfortable and learning to heal that trauma in ourselves. So that we stop perpetuating this way of life that's based on dominance over, on violence, of disconnection, because of greed, because that doesn't really bring us happiness. Like Thai taught us over and over again, real happiness is not based on wealth. It's based on being able to be at home in our own bodies, to breathe and not to be in fear, to have an open heart and to share our lives with each other. And that's what I feel like is this opportunity we have now, that we're being called to do as a nation, is to heal ourselves so that we can be fully alive human beings with compassion, that care more about living things than material objects. Part of our healing for me is healing our ancestors. So that they can have a happier life, a whole life, a beautiful life, a world with love and kindness, active and felt, and all the different colors and flavors of different peoples celebrated together. Because our ancestors got stuck a long time ago in the fear, in the disconnection, in the greed. And the practice that Honey Bear offered this morning is a wonderful tool that Thay offered us for opening up and healing. We can open up and just let our tears pour onto the earth. That's what happens for me when we do this practice here. I need to know that pain. I need to know that reality. And I need to feel it, and I need to let it move and not be afraid of it anymore. We can sit with ourselves the way Thay taught us. Our healing happens just by being with ourselves instead of running away. To come back and hold that pain just like a little baby inside of us that's crying. Holding it. It longs for our presence, our non-judgment, our acceptance for it just as it is, and our loving kindness. And we can let the Buddha hold it with us. Our spiritual ancestors and our blood ancestors that are full of courage and strength and love and wisdom and creativity. We invite them also to be really present with us right now, to help us on this journey, to be brave and not just slip back into life the way it's been happening. And we can call on our Mother Earth also to help us to have non-fear and courage. To feel Mother Earth's love around us, bringing us healing. Our practice and our tradition offers us so many tools and indicators of the direction we need to go in our daily life. We need to listen and know our own pain, and I feel like simultaneously at the same time we need to listen and know the pain of others. Take a bit and hold it, embrace it till it's grounded and moving. In the fourth mindfulness training of the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing that Thay has offered us as a path for our life, living a life of compassion and mindfulness together. It says not to close our eyes to suffering. It's very clear. We're committed to finding ways, including personal contact, images, and sounds, to be with those who suffer. This is what we need to keep doing. So we can understand and develop compassion and ways out of suffering. I need to imagine what it's like to grow up as a Black child. What is that like? What is it like for her mother? For her? I need to imagine what it's like to grow up in severe poverty with violence. So that I can have the power of compassion born in me and the motivation to act. In the 5th and the 13th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing, it says, we are committed to living simply and sharing our time, our energy, and our material resources with those in need. This is our path and our commitment. Impermanence is a really important teaching in Buddhism. It's one of the core teachings you come back to that mark Buddhism. Things are meant to change and to be alive. So what's happening, it's really good and we shouldn't be surprised. This is life. In the 8 realizations of great beings, that's in the Plum Village chanting book. The first sentence is, the world is impermanent and political regimes are subject to fall, period. This is to be expected. So we don't have to be surprised and afraid of it and resist it. This is life. And it's good. It's good that we can create change. It's good that we can change in ourselves and heal. And it's good that our society can change. It means that there's hope. It means that there's possibility for something more beautiful. And we just have to be courageous enough to go on that path together. To let go of what feels safe for what is more alive, more filled with love and meaning. And one of the things in my grandmother's hands is that we want to be very diligent in this work, but also very kind and gentle. Because if we do this work with the energy of dominance, of pushing over what's there to get to something else, that's not going to create the real healing. The real healing is coming from being kind and loving and gentle and learning to trust again and learning, because we're not afraid of the pain, to be with each other. And let our non-fear be born and grow in us. I want to close with just a short moment of sitting. And I'm just going to read a few lines out of the Plum Village chanting book from the Discourse on Love. So we can come back to our bodies. To ourselves. Inviting Mother Earth to embrace us with her love, feeling the strength and the aliveness of the earth, the capacity for healing and renewal in ourselves. Inviting all our ancestors who are courageous, wise, creative, loving, inviting them to be alive within us, to support us in this journey. We need them. We need each other. May all beings be happy and safe. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, invisible or visible. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Just as a mother loves and protects her child at the risk of her own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all beings in the entire cosmos.